top of the WebEx, there's a tab that says audio video.
Yeah.
And if you click it and go to speaker and microphone settings,
Yeah.
and then look at your output volume.
So, yeah, I've had that problem before as well. It needs to be pushed right in, Lynn, right on the round thingy. If you can hear it, well, she probably can't hear us.
She can't hear us. Can someone post that into the chat for her, please?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, we are live.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting for June 2nd, 2021. First of all, with a heavy heart, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people and do send out our condolences to all of our neighbors that live amongst us. And this week has been really sad. I see some of us wearing our orange supporting that. And with that, I turn for an approval of the agenda with the removal of R5. So we remove R5. It's been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any. We have a little bit of a glitch. We're waiting for Director Smith is having a problem with her microphone. Just wanting to see if that's been resolved. So if we can just wait a second. I don't actually see her on, so I can't even do any sign language. Has she been notified, Ms. Harrison, about her, I think somebody in the chat had suggested what to do for her headphones? I think we'll.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Director Wilson sent Director Smith a chat message, and she had left the meeting and now she's back, I believe.
Okay. Oh, I see her there. Okay. I'm hoping that everything is all right. I see her name. Hopefully she hears us. We will start with adoption of the minutes. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 2, adoption of the minutes. Item M1, Special Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of May 19th. The recommendation before you is that the minutes of the Special Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of May 19th, 2021 be adopted.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Moving on now to minutes number 2, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The recommendation before you is that the minutes of the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting of May 19th, 2021 be adopted.
It's been moved, second, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Hoping that I do not see Director Smith yet, but I'm hearing all kinds of noise. Not sure where to go here. I would like to, is there any business arising from the minutes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is none.
Public input?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is none.
Okay, could you go to, well, now we actually, I think we need to wait because the delegation, the other official things could happen without Director Smith, but Director Smith is having a challenge getting on. So can we take a recess for 5 minutes until that gets cleared up? So 5 minutes recess. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are live.
Welcome back. With these virtual meetings, these things do happen, and I'd like to welcome you back, and we're going to now start with Ms. Harrison, our delegation, which I believe is Mr. Monday.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Delegation D1 is Mr. Dave Mundy from the Shawnigan Basin Society regarding the Shawnigan Village Rail Trail. He is in the lobby, and there's also another representative titled Shawnigan Basin Society. Did you want me to add them both or just Mr. Mundy?
It's fine if it's both. Our agenda says Mr. Monday, but I have no problem with both of them.
Okay, I will admit them now.
Thank you.
Oh,
Here we are.
the Shawnigan Basin Society person just left the meeting.
Okay. Mr. Monday,
Yes.
hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I would like to let you know that you have 10 minutes for your delegation, and you can begin now.
Okay, very good. I have a PowerPoint presentation, so should I run that, or like I'm not sure exactly how to trigger it from
Ms.
this way.
Ms. Harrison, does he run the PowerPoint himself, or is that it from our end?
Thank you, Madam Chair. He would have to share his screen with his
Okay.
PowerPoint on it.
I was afraid you'd say that. Okay. Hang on here just a sec. Point.
Madam Chair, if he does have problems sharing that, it is part of the package on PrimeGov.
Yes, we actually have the PowerPoint ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's it would be better for me if you could run it from your side. I can run it, but I can't seem to share it. I don't know. I've got it open on my computer, but oh, hang on here. Maybe this is it. Is that it?
You got it. Okay, you need to make it bigger and
Make it bigger, eh?
well, we see it. It's okay for us, but it's just smaller. Whoopsie.
Yeah, I don't know if someone lets me know how I can make it bigger, then I would do that. But
Okay, well, go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Monday.
yes.
If you go up to the where it says normal outline view slide view sorter, there should be start slideshow.
Slide sorter page, reading view, slide master.
Yeah, where it says slideshow in the red bar, white lettering. To the right.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
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 And then click on from the beginning.
All right.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Yeah, we're going to give you a short PowerPoint presentation here, and it summarizes the report that we put together. I'd just like to recognize Paul Doherty, who's the director of our organization, as the principal author. And beside me, I have Terry Lynham, who is the project manager for the study. So this report, it's really just a preliminary environmental assessment. We referred to the Island Corridor Foundation Rail with Trail Guidelines. We didn't have a project description, but I'm pretty sure from looking at phase 1 and 2 that you were following what was referred to as the Rural Trail Guideline. So that's what we used as an approximation for distances for the Shawnigan Village Rail Trail. So let's see here if we can change slides. There we go. So our concern with the Shawnigan Village Rail Trail is that there's a potential impact on the lake ecology function. And riparian zones need protection because of the contribution they make to nearshore wildlife, plankton, aquatic vegetation, and fish populations in the lake. So this, the figure on the right actually depicts a streamside riparian zone. And actually, lake riparian zones are similar, and they're measured from the high water mark. So Terry conducted a field survey with the help of Emerald White, who is a staff member with Cowichan Community Land Trust. So Terry and Emerald systematically collected photographic data as well as written notes at 26 different waypoints along the Shawnigan Village Rail Trail corridor. So here Terry's seen measuring, I believe it was 3 meters off the railway center line, which is the minimum distance of separation between the rail trail and the railway, according to the Island Corridor Foundation guidelines. So I won't go into the details here, but for an impact assessment, there are potentially a number of negative effects, all of which are listed here. So ordinarily, an environmental assessment is used to document how the construction work will proceed, and it describes how these potential negative effects can be controlled. So we note that at this point that phase 3 for the SVRT is quite complex in terms of construction compared to phase 1 and 2. And we're not aware at this point of any EA or environmental assessment that's been completed for this phase of the SVRT. So Shawnigan Basin Society is a fixture in the local community, and so we have been approached by community members with concerns for the SVRT project, and we do have the information. We do not have the information required to address these concerns. So, but I do want to emphasize that this delegation is focused on potential environmental issues. So we mentioned those other areas of concern in passing. Okay, I'm hoping you can see this slide on the left. You can see the estimated riparian zone. It's this green band along the shoreline. This estimate is conservative, as the high water mark for riparian assessments is defined as the 5-year average high water mark. Fortunately, Grant Trelure, one of the residents on the lake, keeps records of the lake level and has indicated that the 5-year average is 117.54 meters. So on the day of our sampling, the lake level was actually at its lowest for the year at 115.95. So there's actually a 1.6 meter difference between when we did our sampling and what full pool would be. So in the figure above, waypoint 6, I'll just point that out here, and waypoint 7 or waypoint 11, we're taken at the water's edge. So you can actually see then that whatever the lake elevation that was used for generating the drawing was actually even at a lower level than the minimum level that the lake was at this year. So based on our preliminary assessment, section 3, 4, and 5, which constitute phase 3 of the program, are almost entirely located in the riparian zone. Our initial estimate is that roughly 15,900 square meters of riparian zone will be impacted. So when it comes to permitting for these programs, the riparian area regulation dictates that the trail would have to be moved out of the riparian zone. If it's to be left in the riparian zone, then you would be seeking an authorization under the Fisheries Act. So my experience with these authorizations is that they want to see a 2-for-1 compensation for to account for the temporal loss of habitat. So given our estimate of 15,900 square meters, you're looking at something north of 30,000 square meters of compensation habitat. And it's not clear to me where we could find that on the lake. And at the rough estimate of $50 a square meter for this type of habitat development, you're looking at about $1.5 million. So I think at this point, we just wanted to make you aware that we had done this study and that we're prepared to be here to assist as we can. And Terry's here with me as the project manager, and I would be happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you so much. We also received in our package from you the society's report. So there's a 130-page report as well from your society. If you can take down your screen, I'll see if there's questions from the directors.
And I'll see if I can do that now.
So, folks, it's Terry speaking here.
Hello.
During the process where I was taking pictures, countless landowners came down and were saying, well, that's going to go over top of my property. Where the trail would go would be on top of people's bent, like stairways and things like that that go down to their waterways. There was lots of concern for that. In one area, it goes over a driveway. There's an entrance to a guy's house, because his house is on the other side of the trail. Of the rail, it's on that side. Some of the drop-offs are upwards of 15 feet down to where there's solid ground.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I've got a few people with their hands up. So I turn to the director of the area, Director Acton. Go ahead, please. You have questions for our delegation? Or
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, it's just a comment. So thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Monday and Mr. Lindman, sorry, excuse me.
Lynham, yeah.
Lyman, sorry. I had an opportunity to talk to Parks, so thank you so much for this comprehensive presentation. I don't think I have any questions. It's pretty self-explanatory. And staff is happy to receive this as information, and we are currently still conducting our assessment that will be coming back to this committee on this project. So
Well, that's
thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything we can do to help with information, we're always here to help.
Great, that's awesome. I turn to Director Salmon. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just a basic question. So phase 1 and 2 are on the upland side of the tracks. I'm assuming it's not possible to carry on the upland side of the tracks for these phases for some reason?
Yeah, we haven't, I'm not sure whether you assessed that, Terry, but it's my understanding that it had to move over to the west side of the rails for property ownership reason, but again, that's just anecdotal. I don't know whether that's the case or not. Certainly, one of the solutions is to get the trail out of the riparian zone, and then you don't have that penalty, right? But it's hard to get around the Fisheries Act. It's been around for 80, 90 years, and there's lots of case law there. So you definitely have to, if you're going to impact the riparian zone, there's going to be a price to be paid.
So
Follow up, Director Salmon, go ahead.
Yeah, just wondering if it's appropriate. I don't know. I see Mr. Farquhar is on the call. He might have the answer to my question.
Mr. Farquhar.
He's the manager. Parks.
Welcome,
Good
Mr.
afternoon, Madam Chair
Farquhar.
and Committee. As noted by Director Acton, there is still further trail engineering and environmental assessment work being done on this, as previously directed by the committee. So at this point in time, staff are unable to advise in terms of final outcomes because that work is still being done with respect to alignment of the trail, whether it be on the lake side or on the upland side. There are, we understand, implications for both, but further work needs to be done to better understand the implications in terms of costs, in terms of environmental mitigation work, in terms of accessibility and the like. So still further work to be done, but that'll all be coming back to this committee.
Thank you so much. Seeing no other hands up, I'd like to thank you very much, Terry and Dave,
Yes.
Well, hang on.
for your
Terry had
delegation.
one further question. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a point because we talked about the upland side, and as I was taking all these pictures, And measuring the distance, the drop off and everything, I thought the upland side would be just makes so much more sense. It would be much easier and to do, but the water side that's a mammoth job.
Thank you. I'm sure they will take that under consideration, and thank you very much for all you do, for you and your committee, what you do for the community. We really appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. Our virtual clap. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Moving on now to correspondence.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Item C1 is a grant and aid request for electoral area C, Cobble Hill for Francis Kelsey School. And the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid electoral area C, Cobble Hill, in the amount of $1,000 be provided to Francis Kelsey Secondary School for 5 bursaries for 5 graduating students that reside in electoral area C, Cobble Hill, to support their further education or training.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Now we go to C2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item C2 is a grant and aid request again for Cobble Hill for the Shawnigan Cobble Hill Farmers Institute and Agricultural Society. The recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid electoral area C, Cobble Hill, in the amount of $2,000 be provided to the Shawnigan Cobble Hill Farmers Institute and Agricultural Society to assist in staging the Cobble Hill Virtual Fair.
Yeah, it's been moved. Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. We move now to C3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item C3 is a grant and aid request for electoral area D, Cowichan Bay. And the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid electoral area D, Cowichan Bay, in the amount of $500 be provided to Cowichan Bay Improvement Association for beautification along the boardwalk by one of the portals.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Moving on now to C4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item C4 is letter dated May 25th, 2021 from Premier John Horgan. And it's regarding the 2020 UBCM convention, and that is for direction.
Thank you so much. They're looking for any ministers' meetings to be in by June 30th, I believe. So that's just for direction. And we go to C5.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item C5 is a letter dated May 25th, 2021 from Josie Osborne, Minister of Municipal Affairs, regarding the 2021 UBCM convention.
So this is also for, well, it's for direction. And if anybody, I believe that it is for the 7th and 13th of September, if anybody wants to book ministers' meetings. Go ahead, Director Morrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that we have the possibility of discussing this later, I think, in the agenda, but in regards to minister meetings, there's a I don't know whether it's a groundswell or it's just a lot of other electoral areas in other regional districts are really chomping at the bit to get before the minister to see if we can get this government to undertake a local government act review and modernization. And it's at the beginning of a 4 to 5 year mandate, and there are lots of resolutions on the books with UBCM and AVICC pleading for the government to embark on this. I would just pose the question to the directors around the table. Do we feel it's important enough to make a request again that the province begin that work and start to undertake that that review exercise. And I just put it to the rest of the committee.
Director Wilson.
Yeah, great idea. We need to update the LGA. It's been in force for too long. Things have changed dramatically in the last 2 years, and we need to look at these in detail.
Director Salmon.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree the timing's probably good right now.
Director Morrison, are you looking for direction or a motion currently or later on in the meeting?
Well, we're receiving correspondence at this point, and I don't have the agenda open to that part in front of me, but we
Okay.
should probably look at a resolution when that comes up, or have something prepared for our next meeting to go before the board. So thank you.
Sounds good. So we're moving on now to information, and this is for information IN1, Electoral Area E. Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The information item is the Electoral Area E Cowichan Station Satellum Glenora Advisory Planning Commission minutes of May 18th, 2021, and those are for information.
Thank you so much. I have a director with a question. Director Morrison, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm hoping I could pose a question to either Mr. Limshu or Ms. Churl through you. I was in attendance at this meeting, and though I'm don't have any particular issues with the contents of the package or the minutes that have come to us, I guess it's been a while since I've been to an APC meeting, and certainly a long time since I've been to an APC meeting for another electoral area. But I was a little surprised and maybe even a little bit confused in that the DP that was referred to them was a very specific one around Riparian and the subdivision, and there seemed to be significant discussion on areas from permitted uses and other discussions that were, really extraneous to the development permit that was referred. So I just wanted to ask if staff could give me some idea when a specific item is referred to an APC for comment, and I know we don't refer all development permits. What instruction is given to the APC in regards to the scope of what they're to provide direction and input to staff on?
I see Mr. Limshu has come on the screen. Go ahead, Mr. Limshu.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through to Director Morrison. Generally, staff at the beginning of the session, if you will, we do have periodic chats with the chairs of the committees. Now, having said that, we don't do it on a regular basis, and perhaps given in light of your comments, perhaps it's time for staff to have a refresher with certainly with the chairs of the APCs. As this committee might be aware, previous to COVID, the APC meetings weren't necessarily attended by staff all the time, but during the COVID events, staff has taken a more active role in arranging the meetings. Having said that, the meetings are generally run by the chair, and so there are times when questions and concerns are raised that are outside the scope of the actual development permit application or whatever is being considered. We do try our best to address those comments and questions as along with the applicants at that time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we turn now to reports. We turn to R1, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R1 is a report from the Development Services Division regarding application number COV 21D01 for lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the remaining one on Eagle Shores Lane for PID 029642698, 029642701, 029-642-710, 029-642-728, 029-642-736, and 027-634-434. There is a recommendation, but
Okay, I'll let Mr. Limshu go ahead, and then I will have you read the recommendation. Go ahead, Mr. Limshu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planner Chloe Boyle will be giving the presentation, and I'll be running the PowerPoint. So if
Thank
you
you
bear
so
with me for
much.
1 second.
Yeah. Welcome, Ms. Boyle.
Madam Chair, can everyone hear me all right?
Yep, we can hear you and we see the screen. Welcome.
Perfect. Okay, I may not repeat all the lots and PIDs if that's okay. Frank, maybe you could forward to the next slide. Oh, perfect. So, the one previous, sorry. Okay, so it's application COV 21D01. So it relates to 6 properties, 5 of which are fronting the ocean. The properties were subdivided in 2015, and at that time, an eagle's nest was found to be located on a grand fir, and a restrictive covenant was registered for the protection of the eagle's nest. Next slide. Since then, the eagle's nest location has changed and moved 35 meters north. A report by Riparian, a QEP, from March of this year notes the change in the eagle's nest. The applicant is now requesting an amendment to the restrictive covenant and the associated survey plan to account for the new eagle's nest location. And next slide. The recommendation is that it be recommended to the board that application number COV 21D01 for the amendment of restrictive covenant CA 4534771 and the associated survey plan EPP 50189 be approved. And basically this will mean that staff will work with Riparian and geotechnical engineer as well as a legal surveyor and establish a new survey and amend the covenant to reflect the new eagle's nest location with a new survey.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boyle. Good job. I need if your screen come down. So the recommendation was there. It was read out by Ms. Boyle. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder or any discussion or any questions for staff. Go ahead, Director Acton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't see reference to this in the report from Aqua, sorry, I forget their name. But my understanding was sometimes eagles will leave a nest for some time and then come back to it, or their offspring will use it. So, because we have a bunch around us that we witness that same kind of pattern sometimes. So was that addressed?
Ms. Boyle?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Director Acton. Yes, this was addressed. Riparian noted that even if the covenant area is moved 35 meters north, that covenant area will still protect the grand fir tree that did previously have an eagle's nest. And before any on-the-ground development occurs, so before any construction, there'll need to be another review and another report by a qualified environmental professional. So at that time, if the eagle's nest is noted to be changed again, then it can be addressed at that time.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm looking for a mover. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Moving on now, Ms. Harrison to R2.
thank you, Madam Chair. Item R2 is a report from Development Services Division regarding application number CRL 20D01 for 4715 Trans-Canada Highway, PID 005376289. The report contains 2 options. Staff are recommending option number 1, And I believe the applicant is in the lobby. Shall I admit them?
Sure, and this is one that we're all very familiar with. So go ahead, Mr. Limshu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given that the committee is very familiar with this particular site, I think the staff report is fairly comprehensive, and certainly we are here to answer any questions from the committee.
Okay, well, I'm going to get, does anyone have any questions? Ms. Harrison, could you read the resolution, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that cannabis retail license application number CRL 20D01 for 4715 Trans-Canada Highway, PID 005376289, be forwarded to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch with a recommendation of approval.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Moving on now to R3, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R3 is the report from Development Services Division regarding application number ALR 21E01 for Jackson Road, PID 009667563. And the applicant is in the lobby. Shall I admit them?
Yes, please.
They've been admitted.
Great. Okay, Mr. Limshu, who would be taking this?
Planner Lauren Wright will be presenting this report. I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay, welcome, Ms. Wright, and also the applicant.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is an application for a 2-lot subdivision on Jackson Road. As you can see by the aerial view, the lot is vacant. However, there are 3 internal driveways in it. You could switch the slide, please. So the lot is approximately 30 hectares in size, and the applicant is proposing to subdivide it into 2 approximately equal halves of about 15 hectares each. The minimum parcel size, it's zoned A1, and the minimum parcel size is 12 hectares, so it is above, both lots will be above the required minimum parcel size. The applicant also submitted a land capability for agricultural assessment to support the application, where the agrologist determined the soil classification levels or soil classification types on the lot, and that is why there is a diagonal line as opposed to maybe a perpendicular line going through the lot, because that is along the lines of where the soil classes would be in the best interest for both farms that will be established on either lot. So as this application is consistent with the CBRD policies and bylaws, staff are recommending that the application be forwarded to the Agricultural Land Commission for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you could put your PowerPoint screen down, I'll turn to the committee. Are there any questions for staff? Go ahead, Director Martman.
Thanks for the report, staff. I just had a question.
You're actually, we can't hear. We can't hear you very well. It's cutting. It's breaking up.
Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll plug in. Sorry about that. How about now?
That's much better.
So thank you, staff. I know we get a few of these applications, and I'm just curious because one of the previous ones, it asks the CBRD, or it states the CBRD function is to advise whether or not permitting a subdivision is in the public interest. Is that the case in this one as well, or is it because it complies with CBRD rules? I'm not sure what lens to look through.
Mr. Limshu?
Yes, certainly when we review the application, any application for that matter, we look for compliance with our bylaws. So, within our bylaws, in this case, the zone, it outlines what the minimum parcel sizes are going to be, what setbacks are going to be, and so forth. So certainly we always, when we start the evaluation of a project, we always look at the application, evaluate the application through those lens. We also certainly take into account the context of surrounding land uses in the area when we're formulating a recommendation with respect to any sort of development application. And I think I'll stop there. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. I was just wondering if you had any comment about public in the benefit of the public interest, which has come up in previous applications, but it didn't come up in this one.
Yeah, I think it goes along with when you're looking at the context surrounding each application, because not all applications are identical. There's always special circumstances surrounding a particular site, and so as staff, it's our duty to make sure that there's consistency with respect to how we apply our bylaws, and making sure that each application moves forward is consistent with our bylaws. But certainly we do peel back the layers to see what else there might be.
Okay, thank you. No follow-up.
Mr. Skelly, the applicant, would you wish to add anything? Okay. I'll turn to Director Kuhn, who's on my list, and then Director Nicholson. Director Kuhn, go ahead, please.
Yes, I have a question to the applicant. The plots of agricultural land that's going to be used is relatively small compared to the whole area. Are you down the road maybe increasing that that area that you're actually going to use for agriculture, or is it going to stay relatively small?
Mr. Skelly?
Yeah, good question. That's just basically our start. So we're not farmers by any means right now, but we outlined with Madrone basically where we can get started and work from there. Right now the land is vacant, but it's fully treed with 15 to 20 foot fir trees, and we don't want to bite off too much, then we can chew right off the hop. So with Madrone, we outlined this farm start, and then we're going to go from there. And as we progress and hopefully succeed, we can grow.
I turn to the director of the area, Director Nicholson. Go ahead, please.
I just would like a question to staff first, if I may.
Go ahead.
And I think it's following up with maybe Director Martin was trying to get at. Sometimes when we receive these applications to send it to the ALC, it comes with a recommendation: approve, don't make a recommendation, or do not approve. So you didn't do this in this case. It was just an option to send it forward or not. So I'm wondering what the difference is on this one.
Mr. Limshu? Or Ms. Wright? You're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'll start off just talking generally. So we get a variety of applications related to the ALR. So there's subdivision applications, there's applications for a second dwelling, there's applications to exclude, there's applications to basically use the lands for non-farm use. And so as I mentioned earlier, we've got to take a look at each of those applications. They're all different, and consider the facts that are in front of us, and then make our best recommendation moving forward. So generally, that's how we approach these applications. It isn't really a one size fit all, so to speak. We try our best to make the appropriate recommendation moving forward. The other thing too is that we are not experts experts in agrology, and so we do rely on we do generally rely on the land commission to ultimately make the call with respect to whether or not an application is approved or not. So I'm not sure if Planner Wright has any further that she'd like to add.
Through to the chair. Yes, just to add, we are sending it forward with a neutral recommendation only in the sense that we are also sending them the report, and I do know that the planners and the commission members do read the reports that we send. So, and they also comment and reference our report in their own report, meaning they have a full understanding of where the CVRD's position is when we do forward them an application. In this case, as the application fully meets the intent, all of our policies and guidelines, staff don't really have any hesitation forwarding it for consideration by the ALC so they can see if it meets the agricultural merits of the land. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Ms. Cheroff also came on the screen. Ms. Cheroff, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to note that by recommending that the application be forwarded, staff are supporting that the application move forward, and as Planner Wright noted, it is consistent with our bylaws. If we were to find policies within the official community plan that were not in support of the application that's put forward, we would make a recommendation that the application not be forwarded to the ALC.
Thank you. Turning back to Director Kuhn. Question for staff?
No, if the director for the area was to change the recommendation so that we refer the application to the Agricultural Land Commission with a recommendation to approve, if she was willing to do that, I would second it.
Director Morrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is more of a question for staff again. It's been quite some time, I believe, since we've had our friends from the ALC present to us. I'm not sure when the last time they were here, but I was wondering if there was any potential for staff to look at inviting them, whether virtually or at a later date when we're live and meeting in person. I raised that because there were a number of years that they were trying to actually promote the farms if their larger parcels remain larger parcels, but that was with the previous commission chair and not the current one. So I would just put that to staff if they would consider that, and I'll be supporting this resolution.
Mr. Limshu, is there an interest of having the ALC come and present? Or
certainly we can certainly reach out to the Land Commission and see and try and arrange a presentation to the committee at a future date.
Great, thank you. We haven't had one for a while. That'd be great. Mr. Skelly?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to this. This property's been vacant for years. It's just been used as a woodlot, and it was for sale, I think, starting in 2007 to about 2018. It was on and off the market. And this property also borders a large dairy farm. And we talked to those farmers and basically asked them why they didn't purchase the land and turn it into their large-scale farming. And they basically said the land wasn't good for them because it was going to take too much work and not be viable to add into their farm. So the lot was purchased by an individual in the Cowichan Valley, and he planned to build a 5,400 square foot house, pool, shops, everything that's allowed on ALR land. And some things happened with his life, and we ended up purchasing the land, and we want to put it into something. We don't want to just have it sit there and be vacant land. We want to grow and do something with it. So we're going to start like this and hopefully grow and continue and move forward with it. So I appreciate all the comments. Thanks.
Thank you. We had a presentation from the private forest landowners that talked about woodlots, and a lot of them were being turned into agriculture. Go ahead, Director Nicholson, I believe.
Thank you. I'm supportive of this application. I think it is a little bit more complicated than perhaps looking at it with a CVRD lens and a official community plan that is not modernized yet. So the Cooks Island watershed has significant water issues, and I just really want the applicant to be aware, Mr. Skelly, I want you to be aware of what you're getting into here. Because in the Cooks Island watershed, we have really low flow issues in the river almost every year now, and we project it will become worse in the future with climate change. And I spoke to the water authorization people this morning, and the word is that there are likely to be, people are required to license their wells if they use them for commercial purposes, and that includes farming. So if you were to farm, you would need to get your well licensed. You have until March of this coming, of next year, 2022 now, you have until March to put your application in. And they are really not approving at this point any new applications for wells because we're in such dire straits. So what it will probably entail is considerable expense to get the reports that they're going to, the technical reports that they're going to require. And it will also, they would also probably require on-site storage for collection of winter rain if you were to use it for farming. So it is, I think thinking about the Cooks Island and the future of farming is a real challenge at this point. And I think that probably 2 smaller lots is a better thing for the community at this point, because at least they could be used for, your residential use, and residential uses do not require water license, domestic uses. So at this point, that's the better route to go. And I think you may be able to, in the future, provide for small scale farming of 2 lots. But I think that's probably another reason why the adjacent dairy farmer wasn't interested in the land, because water is becoming such a big issue for the farmers in the Cooks Island. So I will move the recommendation.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a seconder? Second. And Ms. Harrison, could you read it out, please?
Just a point of clarification, Madam Chair. Are we moving the recommendation that was presented, or the recommendation with the...
No, as presented.
As presented? Okay, thank you. So the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that application number ALR 21E01, Jackson Road, PID 009667563, be forwarded to the Agricultural Land Commission.
It's been moved and seconded, actually. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you so much. Which board would that go to? I haven't written that down today. Moving on.
June 9th. June 9th.
June 9th. Thank you. That will go to June 9th. Turning now to R4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R4 is a report from Development Services Division regarding application numbers DP 21A04 and DVP 21A02 for 2601 Keir Road, PID 000449741. And there are 2 options in the report. Staff are recommending option 1, and the applicant is in the lobby.
Thank you. Can let him in. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Sophie and Mr. Limshu and Mr. Leach. Is it Mr. Leach? Go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Holly will be presenting this report. I'm just going to share my screen for the PowerPoint.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon.
There are 2 applications being considered as part of this report. First, development permit number DP21A04 includes consideration of an accessory dwelling unit for a live-in caretaker. Second development variance permit number DVP 21A02 is for the consideration of a reduced exterior side yard setback to ensure the proposed accessory dwelling can achieve an adequate setback from Wilkin Creek and meet the riparian protection standards, including a 10-meter stream protection enhancement area. Please advance to the next slide. Okay, so the subject waterfront property is located in Mill Bay at the corner of Mill Bay Road and Keir Road and is approximately 0.43 hectares in size. It's adjacent to a single family dwelling to the north, public roadways to the west and south, and a waterfront with public pier on the east. There's a single family dwelling located on the eastern portion of the site and a detached garage on the southern portion of the site. Previously, a second single family dwelling had been located on the western portion of the lot, but has been removed for quite some time. You'll see on the diagram on the right side of the screen that there is a seasonal creek, Wilkin Creek. It's approximately 1.7 meters wide and extends from the west side of the property through to the waterfront, generally along the northern portion of the lot, as shown in the blue lines. Next slide, please. The proposed accessory dwelling unit, and you can see the footprint is illustrated in green near the bottom left. The accessory dwelling unit meets the intent of the OCP's policy and helps to deliver a much needed affordable housing opportunity. And it is consistent with the applicable development guidelines within the OCP development permit area. The proposed accessory dwelling will be located in the southwestern portion of the property to ensure adequate separation from the existing single family dwelling, shown there on the right side of the lot, and will minimize any disturbances to existing trees. And you can see on the screen just to the south of the proposed accessory dwelling, there are 3 trees in particular, a mature Douglas fir and 2 mature western red cedars. The proposed accessory dwelling will also meet the required zoning and riparian setbacks, with the exception of the 4.5 meter exterior side yard setback, which is the subject of this variance. The proposed setback of 1.6 meters is consistent with the existing single family dwelling you can see to the right. So it also has a 1.6 meter exterior side yard setback. Next slide, please. Notification letters were mailed out and hand delivered to owners and occupants as required through our CVRD bylaw number 4267, Development Application Procedures and Fees bylaw. The notification letter described the purpose of the application and how written comments can be submitted. At this point, I have not received any comments as part of that notification. So, staff recommend that the development permit for the proposed accessory dwelling unit be approved and that the development variance permit to reduce the required exterior side yard setback also be approved to ensure that the riparian area and existing trees are protected. Thank you. I'm available for questions.
Thank you so much. Lower the screen and I will see if the directors have any questions. Does the applicant wish to add anything? Mr. Leach, I believe. Do you wish to add anything? Okay, great.
Probably explained it properly.
Great. I'm seeing no hands up. Director Salmon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to move both these DPs be issued as per the recommendation. And I'd also just like to thank Mr. Savdi and Mr. Dennison and Mr. Leach for all answering my questions regarding the community sewer hookup, which is in the offing.
So it's been moved by Director Salmon, seconded by Director Morrison. Director Kuhn, were you seconding it or did you want to speak? Oh, you're okay? All right, I just saw your hand go up at the same time.
I was going to second it. It's okay.
Okay, good. Do we need it read again? Mr. Savdi did read it out. Do we need it read again? Seeing heads shaking. Okay, I'm going to call the question if we are clear on that. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. That will go to the June 9th board. Thank you. And we move now. We have been an hour did we want a 10-minute break now?
Um,
Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a suggestion that we have the applicant for R6 waiting in the lobby.
Okay. Okay, so let's go R6 and Director Acton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was wondering if I'm able, I was hoping that I could make an inquiry about R5 and it got pulled. And it's because there's
It will
a
come on our,
concern.
it will, you could check with staff on that. Because it's not on our agenda.
That as a committee, it would be, could I just make a comment and then maybe we can think about how we could move forward?
I think that you should check with staff and then, you know, discuss it if you
want.
want.
I think as a committee, it's something that's really important. It's more of a generalized item than just that.
Okay.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
This discussion should have taken place at adoption of the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go to R6, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R6 is a report from Development Services Division regarding application number DP 21B02 for 1722 Elkford Road, PID 001576941. They're containing two options. Staff are recommending option 1, and I will admit the applicant from the lobby.
Go ahead. Welcome, Mr. Johnson. Go ahead, staff. Is it Mr. Limshu?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, Sheila Herrera will
Okay.
be giving the presentation for this. I'm just going to share my screen again.
Okay. Welcome, Sheila. Ms. Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, perfect. Yes, so this is application DP 21B02 for the property at 1722 Elkford Road. The purpose of this report is to present a development permit application for the addition of pickleball courts at the property, which is actually the Cowichan Cricket and Sports Club as well. And the development permit is required because it is within the South Cowichan Rural Development Permit Area.
Ms. Herrera, you're muted.
Okay, did you get any of that?
No, sorry.
Okay.
We got the beginning, and yeah, we had the beginning of the pickleball court, and now
Okay, so the site plan is in front of you, and the proposal is for 4 courts only. There's just a small shed-style building also being proposed, less than the requirement for a building permit. So, and then in addition, they are proposing 16 parking spaces to be added. And it was noted in the report that there wasn't actually a parking ratio to apply to this type of development, and the applicant was asked to come up with a sort of adequate number that could work for them. This is also a private club, and the pickleball courts would also be private as well. And the applicant, of course, can maybe speak a bit more to that if there's any questions. And staff is recommending approval of the DP.
thank you so much. Mr. Johnson, if you can lower the screen, I believe if you have anything else to add.
No, I think Sheila covered it quite well.
Great. Okay, I'll see if there's any questions from the committee, and I see Director Acton's hand is up. That's the only person, if you can. Oh, we lost Frank. We lost Mr. Limshu. Put the screen down. I actually can only see a few people. So Director Acton, were you moving the recommendation?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to move the recommendation. I also have a comment for Mr. Johnson or a question. I just wanted.
So it's been moved.
I'm sure.
Second.
Sorry.
It's been moved and seconded. and go ahead with your question to Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Johnson, I'm sure that staff has mentioned this to you already, but I hope that you're aware, for your business plan or your club's viability, and connect with the other pickleball clubs in the area, that we're currently also building 6 courts at Kerry Park.
Yes, and I've been somewhat involved in that as I'm on the executive of the South Cowichan Pickleball Club. So, and we consulted with Kerry Park on the development of their courts. So, this is going to work probably in conjunction with it. It might be a slightly different style of play in that it'll be patterned more after the South Cowichan Lawn Tennis Club, and it will have it will be for members. The cost is expected to be nominal, but still it would be participated mostly by club members. Although we look forward to probably staging events in conjunction with Kerry Park.
Right, thank you. And so I hope you all stay connected, and perhaps we could become South Cowichan, Canada's capital of pickleball, or something along those lines.
We'll have
So great.
We're gonna,
Good luck to you then. Thank you.
yeah, I think we're going to end up with the best pickleball facilities certainly on the island. So,
Well, you have to aim for the best. Good for you.
Very good. Okay, so it has been moved and seconded. Now I see my fellow directors. And Director Martman, you have a question for staff?
Yes, thanks for the report and for the information. I may have missed this, so maybe staff can advise. Does any information go out to the community regarding noise, perhaps around pickleball? I think in particularly that the way they use paddles and balls, that does create quite a bit of a sound into the neighborhood.
Ms. Herrera, or I don't.
Yeah, sorry, perhaps Ms. Herrera wants to answer this question.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Johnson has had those issues. I don't know.
yes.
I was going to mention that we did talk about that, but just to answer that question about a development permit and the processes, there isn't really a public process where the CVRD is going out. This did go to the Advisory Planning Commission, and I think that question was kind of brought up there as well. And I will let the applicant speak next, because they do know their neighbors fairly well. They're at the cricket club, and they can speak a bit more to that.
Mr. Johnson.
Well, on purpose, we set the courts well away from the houses. They're set back over 300 feet from the nearest house. So, and which goes a long way to dissipate any sound.
Great. Okay, so could you read the recommendation, Ms. Harrison?
Sorry,
Director Acton. Director Acton?
Well, I think Director Martman brings up a good point. Is it at the DP stage where we could encourage some screening by, it looked like that in that last drawing, though, that there's quite a bit of foliage and trees proposed, but is there anything that we can do to mitigate that? That is an excellent point that he brought up, because that is a big concern in areas.
Not sure who wants to take this.
Well, I think from many of the studies I've read, that distance or setback is probably the best mitigating factor for the noise, because I think as the distance increases, as the increased distance increases or doubles, I think the sound level goes down by 6 decibels. So I think with that setback, we're certainly in excess of houses, for instance, that are near the Maple Bay facility. And I don't, I know that's not in, I don't know if there's been any issues there.
Thank you. So are there any other
staff? Wouldn't staff answer this if this was at the DP stage where we would encourage, like, I don't know, would we use laurel bushes or some kind of greenery that absorbs the sound? Or I can already picture, the phone will start ringing.
Ms. Herrera?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, I guess that guidelines don't really anticipate sort of acoustic issues, I think, here, but with this sort of specific kind of use. But something like that, I think, would require more of an acoustic type of study to determine what would be a useful type of screen or sound barrier if there was an issue to address. So we don't really have that information. That wasn't provided or requested with the application. So I don't think I would recommend at this point a screen with landscaping to address that without the sufficient information, if that would actually, if there is for one an issue, and if that would help.
Okay.
The one thing I was also going to mention, sorry, is there's no lighting there, and so games won't be played in the evenings. This really will be more of a daytime use when there's light. I guess in the summer there's a little more light, but just something to note as well about the operation.
So I have Directors Salmon and Smith. Go ahead, Director Salmon.
Yeah, thank you. I think it is an important issue. And I've known other places like Oak Bay, they've actually had to move courts that were too close. So I know this is a fair distance, but that is a penetrating sound, remarkably. So I'm just wondering, Mr. Johnson, have you checked proactively with the neighbors on Elford there? I think it might be a good idea.
No, we haven't.
Would you?
Yes, certainly we can. We're happy to talk to them. There's really probably about 2 houses that are really exposed to 2 to maybe 3 houses that would be really exposed to any kind of noise, and
Thank you.
Okay, I turn to Director Smith.
Thank you. I also in Saltaire had concerns about the noise, and I was informed by pickleball players that technology is changing and that the sound is decreasing with the changes with technology. Maybe Mr. Johnson is aware of something that could inform us in regards to that. Thank you.
I'm not sure, Mr. Johnson, do you have anything to add?
Well, there are, yeah, they have been, the manufacturers of the paddles have been, have done some design changes to try and, to mitigate the sound, and there certainly are sound rated, paddles with different, noise ratings that are there available.
Okay, seeing no other hands up, it's been moved and seconded. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. That goes to the June 9th board.
Thanks very much.
Okay, we will take a 10-minute break and come back at Ms. Harrison. Is that okay? There's nobody else in the lobby or anything? Okay, 10 minutes. Come back at 3 o'clock. Thank you. But I'm sure he'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are live.
Welcome back, and we turn now to Ms. Harrison for R7.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R7 is the report from Development Services Division regarding application number SA 19A01, park dedication for 1080 Shawnigan Mill Bay Road. The staff report contains two options. Staff are recommending option 1, and the applicant is in the lobby. I shall.
Please do. Welcome, Ms. Coors. Go ahead, please. Who's taking this? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to quickly share my screen.
Go ahead, please. Who's taking this? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to quickly share my screen.
Go ahead, please. Who's taking this? Is everybody muted? Something seems not right.
Okay, as indicated, item R7 relates to 1080 Shawnigan Mill Bay Road. The developer owner submitted a written request for reconsideration of the decision on November 27, 2019. At the time, the owner offered to provide both a 5% park dedication in land and a 5% amenity contribution in cash. The developer is hoping that consideration be given to removing the 5% amenity contribution offered in 2019 and taking that 5% cash, removing the 5% amenity cash contribution and only providing for the 5% land dedication. And it's just for everybody's information. Can everybody see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
It's
So
in the
the
smaller version, but we can see it.
Sorry, just bear with me for 1 sec. Right, so just for everybody's information, this all relates to a 13-lot proposed subdivision at 1080 Shawnigan Mill Bay Road. The 5% part dedication that we're talking about is the strip along the south side of the property. It also includes a connection to the cul-de-sac. The primary reason for the request pertains to the significant delays in moving forward with the application for subdivision and the water service area changes since applying for the subdivision back in 2019. And more importantly, the cost increase associated with constructing the water improvement. So this subdivision is predicated on community water services being provided to each of those proposed lots. In so doing, the applicant is required to be included in a water service area, as well as provide improvements to accommodate the additional lots. It should be noted that the proposed improvements will provide additional water supply and treatment for about 96 existing homes in the service area at no charge to the residents. So simply put, what the developer is asking for is, rather than CVRD taking the 5% cash amenity contribution for parks, that cash amenity contributions be transferred out to help offset the increased costs in providing the water improvements, not only to service this subdivision, but also to improve the system for the existing residents in the area. So with that, I'll just open it up for questions.
Does Ms. Coors have anything to add?
No, I don't.
Okay, I see Director Martman and then Director Acton. Thank you. Director Martman, go ahead, please.
Hi, when I was preparing for this, I had a question from staff. I believe this came forward last September before I was a director, from staff to committee around the water part of it and the costs that water would be entailed. I believe they have their own well and tying that all in. So my question to staff is, were the costs known then about it, and it's now almost 3/4 of a year later, so I'm just curious about the timing about why this is now versus the costs were made known last September.
Mr. Dennison, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, the developer had gotten a qualified company that we deal with a lot, a engineering consultant company, to provide an estimate of the expected costs. We looked at it, we thought it was fine. It seemed sensible and reasonable, and likely to be accurate. But we're in very unpredictable times, and so various construction costs, materials. We're finding some of our technical materials we need in sewer and water treatment are way more expensive or just not attainable currently because of supply side problems. So the cost went up quite a lot, percentage-wise, quite shocking, and that was not expected. And they did everything right. It's not anybody's fault. It's just how it is.
Thank you. No follow-up.
Okay, go ahead, Director Acton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is one of those things like I recognize the applicant, but I can't remember all the details to this application. But what was, I think that extra 5%, is that not normally done in this case? And so what's the rationale at the beginning of the application?
Director Salmon, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, I can answer that. So it is, you're right, it is unusual. It's just, it's a very cooperative developer, and as our Parks Commission was kind of 50-50 on whether land or cash, and he said we can do both. So that's that answers your question.
And
follow up, Director Acton?
What? Yes, and in the report I don't actually see an amount. How much money are we talking about? And yeah, I guess like and that money, that 5% we're talking, would go to capital or land purchases for Area A. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Yes. I heard that from Director Salmon. Is there anybody else that wants? Director Salmon, go ahead.
And then what's the value that hasn't been answered? How much money are we talking about? I don't see it in the report.
So yeah, technically the value is calculated based on an appraisal, predicated on 5% of the value of the land. Perhaps Ms. Kors may have some more detailed numbers, but I don't have that at hand.
Yeah, as of about a year ago, we had anticipated it being about $50,000.
Okay, I turn now. Are you finished, Director Acton?
Well, I'm not sure that that's a definitive answer. Does it get calculated from today's value, or does it like, I get that the developer at the time offered up more than they needed to, but now this is money for the community that, developers are gonna retain that. They'll get that money back, in my opinion. But yeah, and then when I heard when this came to us, my first thought was perhaps the APC should be deciding this. This is a loss to community if we exempt this. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with.
Mr. Limshu.
I just want to clarify that the comment about the developer gaining, I mean, what we're talking about here is utilizing those funds for water improvement as opposed to park acquisition. As Mr. Dennison indicated, everybody did what they were supposed to do correctly at the time, and unfortunately, due to the circumstances, the reality is that the cost came in over and above. I think looking at the big picture, this is still a very big gain for the community because you have 96 existing property owners benefiting from this improvement at the end of the day.
Go ahead, Mr. Dennison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just two things on that. One is that the existing community, we have a well that we've been using, but it has been declining in capacity over recent years, and it's getting worrisome. We've had some pretty tight times trying to make it through for the community, and some pretty stringent water restrictions in order to do so. And with this with this development, they're providing a well as well that seems to have quite a lot of capacity. The licensing people with Flindroyd have agreed to move it to the top of the priority list on the recommendation of Island Health because of that urgency to get that through. And then the other thing that's also being provided is manganese treatment, which is now considered a health risk, and so the provide a full manganese treatment system for the water supply as well for this community. So it's not as for the broad community, but certainly for this community, which are seniors in Kerry Village, it's a big plus and really saves a day.
Okay, I turn to Director Salmon. I'm not sure if I missed anybody. Director Salmon, go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is a win for the community. I don't know if maybe it'd help Mr. Dennison just give a rough idea of the cost of the manganese treatment.
It's around $600,000 is the value of the works here, and then in addition to that, the well, which is very, very difficult to get nowadays. It's really hard to find a new water source and bring it on board. So it's a double win.
Okay, Director Salmon, go ahead, please.
So I'd like to move the recommendation, please.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Ms. Harrison, could you read the recommendation out, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, I had a froggy.
Okay.
The recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board, number one, that the offer of 5% land for park dedication for the development at 1080 Shawnigan Mill Bay Road in Electoral Area A be approved. And number two, that board resolution number 19-426.1 be rescinded.
Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Coors, and that goes to the June 9th board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Turn now to, got my screen on something else here. It is R8. Go ahead, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R8 is a report from the Water Management Division regarding Amendment Bylaw number 4386, Sewer Systems Management. And there's a recommendation.
Okay, it's been moved, seconded. Can I go ahead and call the question? Looks like it. I'm going to. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Moving on now to R9.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R9 is a report from Legislative Services Division regarding the 2021 UBCM resolutions. And again, that is for direction.
I believe Director Morrison wanted to speak to this. He had some direction for us. Go ahead, Director Morrison, and Ms. Director Smith.
Thank you.
She's frozen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I didn't prepare a resolution, so I would maybe make one verbally, but short and sweet to the point, in that the EASC chair and staff work to craft a resolution on the asking the province to update and modernize the Local Government Act. And I would move that.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. And I have Director Smith. You wanted to speak to that? I see that your screen is freezing and I saw your hand up and down. So did you want to speak to that resolution that Director Morrison just made? I can't see. I don't think it would be a problem, but she might want another resolution. No. So, Director Smith, can you hear us? Oh, can't hear you. I'll just wait to see if she can get her microphone working again before I call the question so that she understands what we are. Director Morrison?
Well, you might suggest she shut off her video, and that may help her with her broadband issue, if that's what it is.
Can somebody put that in the chat? Now we lost.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So keep your video off. And did you want to speak? Did you hear the resolution by Director Morrison?
Yes, I did. I had
Okay.
an additional resolution, so I just
Okay.
will
So that one,
wait.
you don't have an amendment to this one. You just have an additional one, and we can vote on this one and come back to yours.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call the question, and if you're against it, you'll have to verbally say if you're opposed. Okay, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Then Director Smith, go ahead with your resolution.
I've tried to bring this forward a few times, and I still think it's very important that we make some recommendation to UBCM that has the province considering providing funding for renters insurance for low-income renters. The fire on Lewis Street is an example of a situation where many of the residents were without insurance, and this is a really important part of being well taken care of by the insurance company. And if I made a recommendation, I'm just wanting, before I make a recommendation, to know if this is something that we should move forward on.
I'm not seeing anybody's hand up. I'm wondering if you could draft a resolution and then we could ask staff about that, because I'm not sure that we are clear on your ask exactly. I mean, I'm speaking for committee. Does the committee have anything else to add, Director Morrison?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of avenues here that and it's going to be fairly complex, but there could be a pitch made through our representative to the Municipal Insurance Association. They provide coverages for local governments, and there may be a desire for a pooled approach to a renter's insurance program. They've developed other programs that benefit not only local governments but the residents we serve. I understand the intent of what Director Smith is after, yet also understand that there is a private market that does provide renters contents insurance by a number of carriers available in the province. It's a relatively low cost product that's available. And so I just don't know if anybody's ever asked the province to provide a blanket coverage for our insurance product when there's already the private market is engaged in marketing products like that. So I don't know if that helps at all, but I think we've got sort of two different directions that we could go on this.
Director Smith, are you on the MIA? Who sits on the MIA for us as an appointee? Do we not have one?
I sit on the MIA as the CVRD representative. My intent is the provincial government is funding low-cost housing. It's funding homelessness at risk, and I think that when you look at a lot of the income for those people, that they do not buy insurance. And when an emergency like the Lewis Street happens, they're totally wiped out. And this is an opportunity for the province to also consider, while they're looking at funding for homelessness, at risk, another avenue to help protect them and their contents. And if there is an emergency, a way of funding that the insurance company is the one that's responsible for caring for them and stepping forward. That was my intent. Thank you.
I have Directors Acton. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, thank you, Director Smith. I think it is a really important topic that you brought up. Perhaps when I've seen anything happen for our communities, I think it's happened more so. What if we were to step back just a little bit and not offer up the solution and just echo our concerns and ask for a solution instead of trying to find it? And I find that way the province is more likely to be on side or to find that right avenue that would work. And perhaps your idea is the way to go, but it's not us coming up with the idea.
And perhaps a ministers meeting. Director Morrison.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. That's exactly what I was going to suggest, that perhaps we could, as a local government, make a request for a meeting with our minister Osborne, and also responsible for housing, and essentially that's the area that we're talking about is affordable and low cost housing, and an add-on to what is basically under their responsibility. So I think, as opposed to crafting a resolution when there's going to be a ton of research involved, maybe pitching this in a ministers' meeting might be the most appropriate way to go first, to see if they've contemplated something like this in the past.
How does that sound, Director Smith?
I think that sounds marvelous. I think that's a really good direction to go. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So you do have the letter of ministers' meetings that were, well, that's on our agenda too, the dates and times and stuff too. So we'll talk about that offline. But I have Director Nicholson, I believe, is next. Director Nicholson, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I was just going to add, it might be worth a conversation with the Housing Association to get a feel for what whether this is something that they think it's worth pursuing, and if they have anything to add to it.
Sounds good. So is that good direction, Director Smith?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. We have, moving on now, Ms. Harrison. Any unfinished business? None?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is none.
We go directly to question period. So we take a 10-minute recess and come back at 3:36. Thank you.
Chair. Excuse me, Madam Chair, we are live.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We do have one applicant that would like to ask the chair a question. Go ahead, please. Welcome, Susan. I think it's Susan. I see Susan on the screen. Just her name. Susan Kaufman, go ahead, please. Susan? Hello? One more time. It's going to be like nominations. I'll ask 3 times and then it's closed. Susan Kaufman? Susan Kaufman? Okay, well, it's really warm in my space that I'm in today, and I know that Director Smith is boiling away in hers too, so we will have to close the meeting. Is there any other suggestion? Maybe she can ask it next time.
Madam Chair, Mike here. Sorry, Director Wilson. I did see one that came in from somebody earlier on for question period. Came into the board.
Ms.
Point-
Harrison has that under control.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to have a motion to adjourn. Moved, second, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. It's a beautiful day out there.